quiet hum of the refrigerator was the only sound in the apartment, a stark contrast to the cacophony of a week ago. Laughter, once the soundtrack of our life, had been replaced by a silence so heavy it felt like a physical weight. I used to think that shared laughter was the bedrock of a marriage, a fortress against the storms of life. Emily and I had built our home on that foundation, a sprawling, whimsical structure of inside jokes, playful jabs, and an endless stream of harmless pranks. She was the architect of our fun, a whirlwind of creative mischief. I remember one morning, groggy and reaching for my shampoo, only to find my hair lathering with the distinct, tangy scent of mayonnaise. Or the time I found a fake spider in my shoe, a plastic monster nestled in the dark. I had always laughed, always played along, because I believed these small acts of chaos were the signs of our unbreakable bond. I believed that until last Saturday. The evening began with the kind of promise that only a clear, star-dusted night can hold. Emily was a vision in a black dress that seemed to have been painted on her, her blonde hair a cascade of soft curls that caught the low light of the bar. She exuded a confident radiance that made me feel like the luckiest man alive to be standing beside her. We were celebrating a friend's birthday, and the air buzzed with the easy chatter of people who knew and liked each other. Amidst the conviviality, Emily leaned in and whispered, "Are you ready for the surprise?" A familiar thrill, laced with a hint of caution, shot through me. I assumed it was another one of her playful antics, something that would elicit a collective groan and a round of drinks. I was so profoundly wrong. She clinked her glass, a sharp, metallic sound that sliced through the laughter. "I have a confession to make," she announced, a wide, mischievous grin on her face. The room fell silent. My stomach, a tight knot of anticipation, began to churn. She reached for my hand, her grip warm and reassuring. "I did something crazy," she continued, "but I promise you're going to love it." She then turned to the assembled crowd, her voice a theatrical crescendo. "So, who wants to see the video?" A wave of laughter swept through the room, a mix of genuine amusement and eager curiosity. My heart hammered against my ribs. A video? What was this? A prank that had transcended the personal and become a public spectacle? My questions hung in the air, unanswered, as she snatched the remote for the television mounted behind the bar. "Just watch," she said, winking at me, and with a click, my world began to unravel. The screen flickered to life. The initial shot was innocuous enough. A dimly lit hotel room, a bottle of champagne on a nightstand, the kind of setting you'd see in a romantic movie trailer. Then the camera panned, and I saw her. Emily. She was on the edge of the bed, her hair a golden curtain around her shoulders, a glass of champagne in her hand, and a smile on her face. The room was too intimate, the setting too carefully curated to be a simple joke. A nervous murmur rippled through the crowd. The laughter died, replaced by a tense, uncomfortable silence. I felt a cold dread creeping up my spine as I turned to her. "What is this?" I managed to choke out, my voice a barely audible rasp. She squeezed my hand again, her smile unwavering. "Just wait," she nudged me playfully. "It's hilarious." I looked back at the screen, just as a man stepped into the frame. He was tall, his back to the camera, but his presence was a jarring intrusion into our shared life. As he approached her, she looked up, her smile now a soft, knowing curve, and whispered something that was lost to the background noise. The room was now completely silent. Someone in the crowd, a disembodied voice, whispered the question that was screaming in my head. "Is this real?" My hands clenched into fists, my knuckles white. Emily turned to me, still wearing the mask of a playful conspirator, and the video abruptly cut to black. The silence that followed was a vacuum, pulling all the air from my lungs. It felt as if 100 eyes were boring into me, dissecting my reaction. A nervous, staccato laugh broke the spell. What was that?" a friend finally asked. Emily's relief was palpable. "Come on, guys," she chirped, her tone light and amused. "It was a prank." She looked at me, a genuine, joyful laugh escaping her lips. "Babe, you should see your face." I just stood there, frozen in the wreckage of her joke. A prank. This was a prank. "Emily," I said, my voice barely a whisper. "Tell me that was fake." She rolled her eyes, playfully swatting my arm. "Of course it was, you goof. You don't think I'd actually do something like that, do you?" She laughed again, as if the very notion was preposterous. "It was all staged. Just a joke. I thought it would be funny to see how everyone would react." Funny. She thought this was funny. My brain felt sluggish, unable to process the cruelty of her words. "It wasn't funny," a voice from the crowd mumbled. Emily's smile faltered. "Oh, come on. It's just a prank. I wanted to see how realistic I could make it. No one actually believed it, right?" She gestured to the room, seeking validation, but was met with nothing but more silence. And then came the whisper that would echo in my mind for days, the whisper that sealed our fate. I mean, it looked real. That was the moment I knew it didn't matter if the video was fake. The damage was done. The seed of doubt, the image of her in that room with another man, had been planted. It would grow and fester and eventually choke the life out of everything we had built. I needed to escape. I took a step back, shaking my head, and walked out the door, into the cold, indifferent night. The frigid air was a shock to my system, a brief reprieve from the emotional inferno I had just left. I walked aimlessly, each step a futile attempt to outrun the looping reel in my head. Emily's laughter, the hushed whispers of our friends, and that one, haunting sentence. I mean, it looked real. I leaned against a street lamp, my breath a mist in the air, and pulled out my phone. It was a flurry of texts from Emily, a digital stream of her casual indifference. "Are you seriously mad over a joke?" one read. "Stop being so dramatic," another commanded. My fingers trembled over the screen. A part of me wanted to confront her, to demand an explanation that would never come. But a stronger, colder part of me knew it was useless. Emily didn't understand. She couldn't. I scrolled past her name and called the only person who might offer some clarity, a mutual friend, Mark. He answered on the second ring, his voice cautious. "Hey, man." I didn't waste time. "Did Emily really stage that video?" There was a long, painful pause. "Mark, don't lie to me." He exhaled slowly. "Look, I don't know what she told you, but yeah, it was staged. Nothing happened." My jaw tightened. "You swear?" "Yes," he said quickly. "She just wanted to make it look real. It was supposed to be an experiment." An experiment. The word hung in the air, a cruel clinical term for what she had done to me. "I told her it was a bad idea, man," Mark admitted. "I told her you wouldn't take it well. She kept saying it was all in good fun." A bitter, humorless laugh escaped my lips. "Yeah, hilarious." I ended the call, the weight of the new information settling over me. She had planned this. Every detail, every moment of my public humiliation was a conscious choice. She had gone to extreme lengths to make it believable, and in her planning had never once considered the consequences for me. This wasn't a prank gone wrong. It was a glimpse into who she really was, and I wasn't sure I could ever look at her the same way again. I knew I had to go home, to face the inevitable. I walked into our apartment, the silence now a tangible presence. Emily was on the couch, scrolling through her phone, her expression a mix of frustration and impatience. "Finally," she said, standing up. "Are you done sulking?" The casual dismissal of my pain sent a fresh jolt of anger through me. "Are we still talking about this?" She scoffed. "Yes," I said, my voice low and steady, "because it's not a joke to me." She rolled her eyes. "Okay, fine. You're mad. I get it. But I seriously don't understand why you're acting like this is the end of the world." I stared at her, the words finally coming. "Because you made a spectacle out of our marriage. You deliberately tried to humiliate me in front of everyone we know, and you enjoyed it." She crossed her arms. "I didn't enjoy it. I just thought it would be funny. You used to laugh at my jokes." "What happened?" What happened? I echoed, a bitter laugh rising in my throat. You escalated from a fake spider in my shoe to a fake affair in a hotel room in front of our entire friend group. That's what happened. She groaned, a tired, exasperated sound. You're making such a big deal out of nothing. It's not like I actually did anything. I exhaled, trying to hold on to a shred of composure. That doesn't matter. The fact that you wanted people to think you did matters. She shook her head. You know what? If you weren't so insecure, this wouldn't even be an issue. She seemed to realize her mistake, a flicker of panic in her eyes. But it was too late. I didn't mean it like that. You meant it exactly like that, I said quietly. Silence settled between us, thick and suffocating. For the first time, I wasn't just angry, I was tired. Tired of her games, her dismissiveness, her refusal to acknowledge the hurt she caused. I need some space, I said, grabbing my keys. You're not seriously, she began, her voice trailing off. I'm not leaving forever, I clarified. But I am leaving for tonight. I saw a flicker of fear in her eyes, but I didn't stay to let it change my mind. I walked out the door and into the night once more. I drove to a quiet parking lot by the waterfront, the soft lapping of the waves a gentle balm to my frayed nerves. I sat in my car staring at the dashboard, my mind replaying our conversation. She hadn't apologized. She hadn't tried to understand. She had simply blamed me for being insecure. Rachel's words from our conversation earlier that night came back to me. Emily's been doing stuff like this for years, just never this extreme. Her words had hit a chord, a truth I had been trying to ignore for a long time. Emily had spent years pushing my boundaries, seeing how much I would take before I finally pushed back. And now she had crossed a line I couldn't ignore. I sighed, pulling out my phone. Rachel had texted me. Hey, I don't know what happened, but if you need to talk, I'm here. I called her, and in a rush of emotion, I told her everything. When I finished, she let out a sharp breath. Wow, that's a whole new level of messed up. I ran a hand down my face. Yeah. Look, I know you probably don't want to hear this, but this isn't new, she said, her voice soft but firm. I've seen the way she treats you, the way she makes fun of you in front of people. And every time you call her out, she flips it on you. That's not normal, bro. That's not love. Her words were a mirror, showing me a reflection I had been too afraid to see. She was right. Emily wasn't a playful partner. She was a boundary pusher, a manipulator who enjoyed seeing what she could get away with. What are you going to do? Rachel asked. I exhaled, the answer now strangely clear. I don't know yet, but I can't just pretend this never happened. I returned to the apartment much later, the streets quiet, and the city lights casting long, lonely shadows. Emily was still on the couch, asleep with her phone in her hands. When I walked in, she stirred, blinking up at me. You're up early, she mumbled. Then, a frown forming on her face. Did you even sleep? I shook my head. We need to talk, she groaned, rubbing her temples. Are we still on this? I ignored her. Why did you do it? She sighed. Do what exactly? Why did you make that video? Why did you think it was funny? I clenched my jaw. It was just a prank, something fun to shake things up. Shake what up? I asked, genuinely curious. Were things boring for you? Were you trying to get a reaction out of me? She hesitated. I mean, yeah, kind of. I don't know. I thought it would make things more exciting. Every relationship gets stale. I just wanted to do something wild. I stared at her, the pieces of the puzzle finally clicking into place. You could have just talked to me, I said, my voice barely a whisper. You could have told me how you were feeling. Instead, you decided to play a twisted game to shake me. Her expression hardened. So now I'm the villain? I didn't cheat on you. I shook my head. It's not about that. It's about the fact that you thought humiliating me was a way to fix things. Fine. Then what do you want? An apology? She scoffed. Do you think you should apologize? I asked. She let out a dramatic sigh. If it'll make you feel better, fine. I'm sorry. Happy now? The words were hollow, a performance with no heart. She wasn't sorry for what she had done. She was sorry I wasn't letting it go. That's when I knew. This wasn't something I could fix. She didn't want to understand. She never had. The apartment was silent as I packed, the sound of the zipper on my duffel bag a final, definitive note. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't sad. I was just done. She watched me from the doorway, her arms crossed, the mask of indifference slowly slipping. You're really going to throw everything away over one bad joke? She asked. I zipped up the bag. It's not about the joke, Emily. It's about everything that led up to it. It's about the way you treat me, the way you dismiss my feelings, the way you always have to push things just to see how much I'll take before I finally break. For the first time, I saw real fear in her eyes. Wait, she said, her voice thin and desperate. We can talk about this. We did, I said, slinging the bag over my shoulder. And all you did was deflect, make excuses, and act like I was crazy for being upset. I walked past her, my destination no longer a mystery. So that's it? She asked one last time. You're just giving up? I turned to face her, a sense of peace settling over me. No, Emily, I said. I'm choosing myself for the first time in years. And with that, I walked out the door, the sound of the latch clicking into place a final farewell.